welcome to another edition of Lantern Sports Now. I'm James King, the LTV Sports Director.
And I'm Alicia Graves, the Assistant Sports Director.
Let's get right into what happened this week in Buckeye sports. One of the most renowned athletes in Ohio State history, Kyle Snyder, wrestled in his last match at Ohio State on Sunday, along with two other seniors. LTV reporter Julian O'Donnell takes us into the big match.
It was senior night at the Schottenstein Center for Ohio State Wrestling, as seniors Nate Tomasello, Bo Jordan, and Kyle Snyder wrestled in front of their home fans for the last time. Ohio State football coach Urban Meyer was in attendance, sitting mat side. Nate Tomasello was the first to wrestle, facing Spencer Lee, who gave Tomasello a rough day. Tomasello only managed one takedown, while Lee prevailed with two escapes and riding time advantage to seal the early upset. With Ohio State down 12-7 after several matches, Bo Jordan brought the momentum back to the Buckeyes, having 3 takedowns in the first period, never looking back with a 10-5 victory. Miles Martin continued this stretch with a demanding performance over Iowa's Mitch Bowman, starting off the first period with a 12-1 lead. He would eventually win to give Ohio State the 14-12 advantage overall. Ending the night with the Buckeyes up 5 points, Kyle Snyder finished his home career with a dominating showing over Stephen Holloway, winning by technical fault 24-9. Snyder had 7 takedowns in the first period to build an enormous lead. His win secured the 22-12 victory over Iowa, moving the Buckeyes to 10-0 on the season. They now look to continue their success against Purdue next Sunday. For Lantern TV, I'm Julian O'Donnell.
The Ohio State women's basketball team is 5-2 in Big Ten after losing to number 14 Maryland 99-69 Monday night. The Terrapins held a lead the entire game while shooting 55% from the field. The Buckeyes only hit 39% from the field and missed 11 of their last 13 shots in the game. Ohio State senior guard Kelsey Mitchell led the team with 15 points and added 7 assists. This loss gave the Terrapins the first place spot in the Big Ten. Ohio State will take on Iowa at 8 p.m. on Thursday night.
Now on to men's basketball. The number 13 Buckeyes took on the Cornhuskers of Nebraska. Ohio State looked to keep their perfect Big Ten run going, but Nebraska wasn't going to let that happen easy, going into the half down only 2 points, 24-22. Picking up in the second half, it was more of the same with Nebraska's James Palmer Jr. He lit up the Buckeyes for 23 of his 34 points in the second half. Palmer was responsible for 28 of his team's total 37 second half points and kept his team within striking distance of the Buckeyes. But Ohio State junior forward Keita Bates-Diop responded time and time again, scoring 14 of 17 points for the Buckeyes late in the second half. The Buckeyes would grind down the ending stretch to close out the game, winning 64-59. The win moved Ohio State to 18-4 on the season with a perfect 9-0 record in Big Ten play. They play host to Penn State on Thursday at 8 p.m. in Value City Arena. Now with us, we have Edward Sutherland, our Assistant Sports Director. Ed, he's also our basketball beat writer. What a surprise this Buckeye team has been. What did we learn about this team after this game against Nebraska?
Yeah, I mean, I think that the thing that really stood out to me for what this game meant for Ohio State was just that it was able to win a close game. You know, a team like Ohio State last year, there were so many times when an opposing team would go on a run and Ohio State would pretty much just fall back as soon as they lost the lead. Ohio State did lose the lead pretty late. They fell down by 3 points, 49-46 at one point, and they just battled back. They just stayed with them the entire game. Nebraska's head coach after the game, Tim Miles, had said that, even late, like you see guys jumping out of bounds to try and save loose balls. You're seeing these guys always finding an open lane. This team is playing with energy throughout the entire game, and what really it is that it's just this is a team that's I think just playing for its coach, playing for the team, and they're just not going to lose these close games like they did last year.
Yeah, and I mean, coming down that stretch with Palmer Jr. going off for being responsible for 28 of his team's 37 points coming down, Keita scoring 14-7 for the Buckeyes, it really seemed like it was a duel between those two coming down. So having a player like KBD who can be that person to get you a bucket when you need it, what does that mean for a team, especially looking forward to NCAA tournament time?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's pretty big, and not just because Ohio State can rely on a guy like Bates-Diop for points. You know, I mean, he's sort of a guarantee to get seemingly 20 points every game. He just always seems to get that. But then even in the game against Nebraska, when he started off a little bit slow, and he's done this several games recently because the teams are starting to double team him now. That double teaming sort of opens up different guys out, like on the outside, and it allows more players to have these sort of open looks that they might not have had earlier in the season when Cato was just being single covered. You know, even now that he's being double covered, though, he may not necessarily be able to drive to the rim as easily as he was earlier in the year.
Yeah.
But he's still able to move around. He's like what he did last Monday in the second half was he was just able to find space down low and catch, you know, he caught a lot of passes from Dockich and Wesson, and was able to score that way. So I think that when Ohio State has a guy like that who, even when he's not scoring, is opening up opportunities for other players, it gives Ohio State a lot of different ways to score that they might not have had last season when they didn't really have a go-to guy for points.
Now, looking on, this team plays Penn State on Thursday night at 8. Penn State is not a team that necessarily has that's not a necessarily great team in the Big Ten basketball picture, but they do have some guys that are talented on offense. And now, with Ohio State being on this run, they're getting everyone's best shot. So, coming down the stretch, is there any pressure on this team to finish out this perfect Big Ten run?
You know, I think that it's sort of interesting. I think that they are still continue to be so surprised by how this season has played out for them that I almost would lean towards no, that they don't feel as much pressure. I mean, obviously, they're going to go out there playing to win every single game. But you talk to Holtmann and the players after the game, and they all say the same thing. You know, they're always asked the same question almost every time. Did you expect to be going this far undefeated in Big Ten play?
Yeah.
And the players have stopped, you know, the players and coaches have stopped saying, oh, you know, I mean, we go out there and compete every game. They're now saying, like, yes, we are surprised.
Yeah.
You know, they are genuinely at this point just shocked that they've gotten this far. And I think that they're not playing with a lot of pressure. They're playing, it seems more like they're playing just very relaxed, very loose out there, especially now that they have a stretch of sort of a break where they have a couple of days off instead of like the 4 games in 8 days that they're just coming off of. I think that they've sort of got this, just relaxed mentality that I think is really going to help them. Whereas, you know, again, going back to last year, because it always seems to go back to last year with this team. Last year, it was just sort of a tense atmosphere, like they have to win these games. Ohio State no longer feels that pressure.
Yeah. Now they do have Purdue looming a few weeks away. If they could be perfectly up to there, what a good matchup that would be. But thank you, Edward, for coming on with us. That's all we have for you for men's basketball. Now, Alicia has some more on some shaking up in the Ohio State football coaching staff.
That's right, James. Ohio State football quarterbacks coach Ryan Day has been promoted to offensive coordinator. Day will work alongside Kevin Wilson to lead the Ohio State offense for his second season. This promotion comes soon after discussion that Day was offered a position as an offensive coordinator for the Tennessee Titans, who recently hired former Buckeye Mike Vrabel. Speaking of Vrabel, it was announced today that Ohio State defensive backs and special teams coach Kerry Combs will be taking a position on the Titans staff. Combs has been at Ohio State since 2012 and has had 3 cornerbacks taken in the first round of the past 2 NFL drafts. It is currently unknown what position Combs will have in Tennessee.
That's all we have for you this week on Lantern Sports Now. Be sure to like us on Facebook and follow us on Snapchat and Twitter. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next week.